Alright, so we're going to go and build a Dieline. Now I have a document that is in the online Google Drive for the Flexo class, and you can go and find this document in that folder. It's called Dieline Tutorial S3 AI C6. Alright, so, and I'm just going to kind of walk us through it. You can go through the written tutorial if you prefer, or you can go through the video. So the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to go open up Illustrator. Now it says CS6 here in the thing, but we're obviously up to not see it. We're at Adobe 2020 now. So, but it operates in the exact same manner. So I'm going to go launch that. And then the first thing we're going to do is go make a new document. So I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to create a new document. So I'm going to put in some details here. So let's go see what it tells us to do. It says to make the document 6 inches by 6.38. So I go to make sure it's in inches. It usually defaults to picas, but we're going to change it to inches. So make sure you're in inches. And I want my width is going to be 6, and then my height is going to be 6.38. All right, and I create it. So whenever I make this, when I make my document, it is going to represent the actual finished size of the plate when we are done. So, and those dimensions that I just gave you are very particular. It definitely needs to be exactly that size. So we've made our document, and we'll go back here. Now we're going to start building our die cuts. In this particular die line, we are going to be creating rectangles, 6 of them to be precise. So to do this, we're going to go over here to our toolbar. We're going to, I've got the ellipse tool out, but I'm going to click it so that I get the fly out. So I'm just clicking and holding. I come over here to rounded rectangle tool, select it, and I'm going to make my first cut. So I'm just going to click one time on my document. Doesn't matter where, just click on the document, just click once, not drag, just click. And then I get a dialog box, and it allows me to type in a very particular size. In this instance, the die that we'll be using, the cuts are going to be 2 inches by 2 inches with a quarter radius of 0.125 or 1/8 inch. Corner radius is just how rounded are the corners. So the higher that number is, the more rounded it is. So I'm going to hit OK, and there it is, my first one. So I'm going to go get my selection tool, and I'm just going to get my black selection tool, and I'm going to just use that to kind of just move it to the top, left side of the document. Doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be precise just yet. We're just kind of putting it in position. Now, one of the things is that I want to make sure that I don't accidentally scale it by grabbing one of the corners or this control point in the center of the sides. But if you click like anywhere in the document, or in the shape, you can move it around. So I made that first one. So now I said that we're going to make 6 of these, right? And each of these have to be placed very particularly. And we're going to use a function called move. And this is going to allow us to make copies and actually move those copies to very specific locations. So I just go to Object, Transform, Move. And what I'm going to do, the first thing is I'm going to go in and step it across. So the distance is going to be the width of the shape plus whatever distance the gap is. So in this case, the width of the cut is 2 inches, and then the gap is 1/8 of an inch. So horizontally, we are going to move 2.125, which is 2 1/8 inch. Vertical, we're going to leave that at 0 because we don't want it going up and down at all. This next part here, just ignore. Whenever you hit copy, this information is going to update immediately based off this. So I hit copy, and it moves it over. So now I've got a copy, and it's the correct spacing. So now I need 2 more sets moving downward. So I'm just going to I'm going to drag over my 2 to select them, and then once I have them selected, I go to Object, Transform, Move, and bring up that move function once more. And this time, horizontally, we're not moving side to side, so I'm going to hit 0. And I go to my vertical, and we're moving down 2 inches plus the gap, so 0.125, so 2 and 1/8, which is the same distance that it was going across, is now going down. And then I just hit copy, and it does it for me. And then I can have it just duplicate the last thing I did by just going to Object, Transform, Transform again. And now I have my 6 cuts. Now my 6 cuts, they are spaced in reference to each other, perfect. So, and I want to keep it that way, very important. But it's not necessarily centered in my document, and that's what we're going to fix next. So what I'm going to do now is I want to select all of the cuts. So I'm just going to drag over them, and I am going to group them. So grouping them, Object, Group. What that does is now if I select one of them or I move one of them, they all move in tandem as a group. So I've done that. I am now going to go up here to my control bar at the top. If your control bar is not visible, which by default it is not for some reason anymore in Illustrator, I recommend you go and open it up. It makes life so much more easy. So if you go to View and then you go to Window and check Control. And so yours probably looks like this by default, but if you go to Window, Control, that's going to pop up, and that's going to give us a lot more options and give us quick access to some good options. And those options that we're going to use are the align functions that are right here. So what I want to do is I want to take this grouped object or set of group objects and move it to the center of my document. To do so, I want to choose Align to Artboard, and think of your artboard as your page. So I want to have that selected, and then I go to the second button, which is the horizontal Align Center button. Click it, and that aligns it horizontally. And then I'll go to the vertical Align Center, which goes and aligns it vertically. And voila. Now I have it all placed exactly how I want it. Now the thing is as it stands right now, these die cuts that I have created here, if I left it like this, I mean, it would kind of be fine, but it's really not the best template for me in the world. And what I mean by that is I could accidentally nudge it like that, which would screw things up. Also, right now these shapes have a color to them, so they would actually print. And I don't really want the edges of my cuts to print. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm going to change these to something called a guide. And a guide is a non-printing object in Illustrator, and it's simply just used for reference. So I'm just going to go up to View. I'm going to go down to Guides, and I'm going to Make Guides. So once I've made guides, they'll turn this like weird blue color, and notice that I cannot select them. Now it is possible that you can move guides around, and if for some reason you click your guides and they move, just go to Edit, undo that move, and put it back in position, and then go to View, Guides, and just make sure that it says Lock Guides instead of Unlock Guides. So mine are locked, so that's why it gives me the option to unlock them, which I do not want to do at the moment. Alright, so I got that, and that's the hard part of doing this. So I'm going to pause and keep my recordings broken down, and we'll come back in a second with how to finish this up.